In the US, congressional lawmakers are pushing for more economic relief for Americans who have lost jobs and closed businesses due to coronavirus restrictions. However, President Donald Trump has indicated that he may lift some restrictions if the economic impact becomes too great. Let's bring in now, live from Washington, Camila Bernal from CNN. Appreciate your time, Camila. We know that leaders around the world are really juggling between the economic crisis and the health crisis. Mr. Trump has said that the US wasn't built to be shut down. Clearly he'd like the country to keep operating, but with case numbers rising so dramatically there, the health advice is that the shutdown is really the only option.
Yeah, Ash, well, look, President Trump is saying that the solution cannot be worse than the problem. He's even saying that he would like this shutdown to end by Easter Sunday. But to answer your question, it may all change, and it's because the president does have some health advisors who are saying at the moment, these medical advisors are saying that that Easter deadline can change, and it is very likely that it could change. And what they're saying is that they want to look at the numbers, they want to look at the data, they want to look at all these cases coming in from different states to be able to decide when they will ease the restrictions or enforce these restrictions once again. And so what they're floating is different ideas. One being that maybe this will phase out state by state. So what they're saying is there are some states that may be seeing many cases, that may be seeing a lot of increases in the number of cases and deaths, and so those states would likely remain under a shutdown. And then they're saying other states that may not be experiencing this would be able to have people return back to work. The other idea that is being floated out there is that young people would be able to return to work while the elderly and the vulnerable populations would be asked to continue in isolation. But again, all of this is changing quickly, but in the end, it will be up to the president to decide what to tell the country to do. He says, we will reevaluate in about a week, which will end that 15-day period of recommendations that he and the White House put forth, and then they will really decide what to do next.
So, Camila, it sounds like the sort of confusion we've heard a lot about here in Australia about government messaging is certainly being replicated in the US as well, as people try to navigate a path between the state recommendations and the federal recommendations coming out of the White House.
Yeah, look, I think people here in America are also confused, and I think they're confused because of different things. First is the fact that you're hearing different things from the White House and from local authorities. So a lot of people want to know who they need to listen to, and some of those messages are the same coming from the White House and coming from their state or local governments, but at the same time there is no specific unified message for the entire United States. So some people may be confused because of that. The other reason why people are so confused is because this is changing so rapidly. Every single day, every minute, we're getting different information from the White House and from local authorities. So anybody listening to the president this afternoon may be thinking that by Easter Sunday, they're going to be able to return to their churches and go out maybe on Easter Sunday. But if you continue to listen to that press conference just minutes later is when we heard that that may not be the case. And so people are confused because things are changing so quickly. So the advice would be to continue to listen to the president and, of course, to all the medical experts who are saying one thing after another, and every day it continues to change. So everybody just has to be very vigilant as to what happens next. Ash?
And Camila, just finally, New York seems to be becoming the real epicenter there for you in terms of the coronavirus crisis in America. I know that there have been significant shutdowns in that city, and there's had to be, and we've seen these extraordinary pictures of the streets of New York being empty, Times Square, not a person there. It is an extraordinary thing we're seeing underway at the moment, particularly in New York City, where things look like they're spiking and are on the trajectory to just get worse.
It truly is just surprising when you look at those images from Times Square or from different areas in New York, and you begin to see that people are listening and they are staying home. So you're seeing that specifically in states like New York or Washington State or Los Angeles, because those are, of course, the most affected areas. But remember, we are in the United States, so it's not like other countries where you're enforcing this or that you see police officers enforcing these stay-at-home orders. That is not the case in the United States. So at the end of the day, it's left to the individual citizen to follow these guidelines as to staying at home or not. Of course, what the local governments are doing is shutting down businesses and doing everything they can to only have those essential workers out on the streets. But like I said, at the end of the day, it really is up to the individual to continue to isolate.
Camila Bernal live there in Washington. Appreciate the update. Thank you so much.